Hey, it's John Martinez here, and I wanted to shoot this video for you today with the subject of, well, subject lines. That's right, this video is going to be discussing subject lines. And so first of all, let me say this. So not that you won't get value out of this if you don't have a list already, but this video is going to be, kind of a little more targeted towards people that are already running ad campaigns, that are already generating leads and starting to build their list, or for those of you that already have an active list that you're engaging with via your autoresponder sequence. So again, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get value from it if you don't have a list, but again, it's kind of more targeted towards people that already have, are building or already have a list. So first of all, let me say this. So subject lines can be absolute garbage. We know which ones they are because they're the ones that typically when they come through our own personal inboxes, we typically just hit the delete key right away because it's obvious that they're either clickbait or that they have nothing to do with anything that we're interested in. And we just hit delete. Okay, so, or they can also, on the opposite spectrum of that, they can be absolute little magical treats that boost trust with your list. So keep that in mind. If you structure your subject lines correctly, your prospects or your list will be compelled to open them. Okay, let's put it that way. So let me ask you a question now that we're on that topic. Have you ever come across a subject line in your own inbox where you just couldn't help yourself? You just had to open it. Why is that? What was it about the subject line that just made you go, yes, please, and click? Okay, think about that for a second. So let's talk about that. So a quick little disclaimer. So, subject lines, your subject lines, you want them to be curiosity based, not clickbait. Okay, and there's a big difference between the two, and let me explain. So curiosity makes people feel compelled to open your email, to consume the content that you provided them, and then the people come away feeling that they got value from that content. That is the absolute key, is structuring or writing compelling subject lines that are also congruent with the content of your email, and then the person that consumed that content came away feeling that they got absolute value. They read it from beginning to end, okay? And they even acted on your CTA at the end of your email. CTA meaning call to action, okay? So that is a well-structured strategy, a good compelling subject line that's congruent with the content, that has a strong call to action, that when the person reads it and feel that they got value from your content, they take the action that you're asking them to take. It's that simple. Okay, now clickbait, on the other hand, I like to call it garbage fuel. It makes you click, but then you hate yourself later for clicking. And it's okay, we've all done it, myself included, but as I said a moment ago, hopefully, our antennas are up because we see enough of these clickbait subject lines come through that, we just hit delete when we see them coming through. But occasionally they get by, and you know what? We open them and we find out that it's the content is all about Viagra or the next best, brain pill, right? That's gonna kind of like the Limitless movie, right? It's gonna turn you into the superhuman person. But anyway, so that's basically clickbait. Okay, things that have nothing to do with anything that we're interested in, and even more, they provides no value to us in any way. So let me give you just a few examples of what I like to call curiosity subject lines, and then I'll give you an example of what I call clickbait. So a curiosity subject line would be something like, I woke up and couldn't move. Here's what happened. So now, if you were to read that subject line, then you would want to know, well, what happened? He woke up, he couldn't move, and here's what happened. So you want to be told, well, what happened? Why couldn't you move? You woke up, you couldn't move. Why not? Okay, so a clickbait. Now the thing about that subject line is that the content, if your content makes the appropriate connection to that subject line, then there's value within your content, then it's a win-win for everybody. Okay, and that's the ultimate objective, is to make your subject line compelling, to get them to open it, but then there's also a connection between that subject line and the content, and the person reading it comes away with value at the end. Now, kind of a silly example of what I like to call clickbait would be something like, you won't believe how high this turtle gets. Well, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, John, that sounds pretty ridiculous. Exactly, it's clickbait. You won't believe how high this turtle gets. You know, it elicits, the most extreme ways to get you to click. That's the only way I can explain it, right? So, then you open the email and the content has absolutely nothing to do with the subject line. In other words, the subject line was a lie just to simply get you to click. That's why they call it clickbait, right? They're putting that bait out there trying to hook you, okay? So it boils down to this. Curiosity creates interest and value and provides the highest CTR percentage, or click-through ratio percentage. Clickbait is cheap and it loses, clickbait is cheap and it loses trust with your customer. Now, you may get a high open rate, but you're also going to get a very high opt-out rate as well. So you got to be cautious. The objective here is to keep people on our list as long as possible so that we can continually market to them well into the future and, make them customers of ours over and over and over. So as long as we're providing them value, they'll stay on our list, they'll continue, and they'll continue to purchase from you. So, and if you're not sure if your subject line is curious or clickbait, ask yourself this. Will the customer click and then want to opt out? Okay, or will the customer click and then read the email all the way through and feel like they got value at the end? Just ask yourself those two questions. So obviously you know which one we're shooting for here. So now here is the quick and dirty way to create good subject lines that provide the best open rates and CTRs. Now listen here, I know I mentioned open rates and I mentioned CTRs. Now those are two different things, okay? Your open rate or open ratio or open percentage, however you want to phrase that, is basically the number of emails that you send out versus the number of people divided by the number of people that open them. Okay, and that's going to give you your open rate or open percentage. Now your CTRs, on the other hand, your click-through ratio, those are the people that click on the links within the content or within the body of your email. So CTR means click-through ratios. So people are taking the necessary action that you've asked them to do with your CTA, your call to action. So now in this video, I'm just going to talk about 5 different styles of subject lines that I like to employ in my own follow-up email sequences. And believe me, there's a whole bunch more, but let's just discuss these 5 today. And I think that you'll find a place for them within your own email strategy. So the first one is what I like to call how-to subject lines. A couple of examples of how-to subject lines might be, how to get a girl in 3 easy steps. How to boost your success, do it today. How to hard-boil eggs, the new way. If there is a new way to hard-boiled eggs, I don't know, but there could be. So, people love to learn, and probably started when we were caveman, maybe, I don't know, but that's not the point. What the point is that we all want to better ourselves, and anytime we can learn how to do anything, especially when it's easier than what we've been told, or it's easier than what we've been, the way that we've been doing it, then we'll click and read. Okay, so that's an example of, or those are examples of how-to subject lines. The next example or the next style are what I like to call question subject lines. These are very powerful as well. Examples of a question subject line might be something like, why would you bet the farm on this? Or what's going on? When is it going to happen? Did you sign up? Are you okay? I've used that one a couple of different times. Are you okay? When people haven't opened my emails for maybe, a period of time, maybe 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, they haven't opened an email from me, I'll send them an are you okay? An are you okay subject line, okay? Or how come with the question mark. Why you never win? Why you never win? Question with the question mark, okay? So anything that's asking a question immediately makes people open and read. So, we naturally want an answer to the question and or to be part of the conversation. So that's why questions are so powerful. So now be sure that the question is still connected to the content that you write within the body of your email. That's still important. That's always, every style that we're going to discuss still requires that correlation or that congruency between the subject line and the content that you're providing. You want to make sure there's a connection there. So, but make sure that the question is still connected to the content, and always make sure that the connection, make that connection so that people will feel compelled to read all the way to the end. Okay? So the third type of subject line is urgency subject lines. These work extremely well. Okay, they might be something like this is it, ending now. Okay, or ending soon. This is important. 24 hours left. Your spot is saved if you hurry. Or how about this one? Final notice. This ends in 2 hours. Okay, so remember this. People are more motivated by what they can lose rather than by what they can gain. Let me say that again. People are more motivated by what they can lose rather than by what they can gain. Okay, so who knows why we act the way we do, but when it comes to making decisions, we tend to wait until the last minute. So urgency subject lines work well because it kind of gets them to that last minute a little bit quicker. Okay, now these subject lines work, but fair warning, they can be burnt out if you use them all the time. So you don't always want to be using urgency, because then people are going to think about, every email that you send has a deadline. Okay, so it's kind of, you kind of got to be careful there. But be honest with your urgency as well. Nobody likes the boy that cried wolf, right? So just make sure that, if you're saying that your offer ends in 24 hours, you want to make sure that your prospect can't find it, a week from now, the same exact offer. Okay, because then you're going to discredit yourself. So the fourth type of subject line is what I like to call mystery subject lines. I was scared for my life. Mystery. This unlikely tool saved my career, right? Very bad morning, I never want again. So again, you got to make sure that there's congruency between that subject line and the content, okay? Or it was too late. I was too late to the hospital. Okay? I didn't mean to say the F word. Okay, now that one, it's a little more of a shocker, what we call, has more shock value, right? That's the type of value, or the type of subject line it's like a shock value. So use it sparingly, but but it works. It can still work. These border on clickbait, on the clickbait fill. But as long as you still provide value that is connected to the subject line, then you're pretty much in the clear. So again, you got to make sure that you provide value. And if you're nervous, then clarify the subject line within the first few lines in the body of your email. Okay, so people get where you're coming from. Okay, that's important. Now, why does this work? Okay, so mystery is mystery. Okay, we want to solve. We want answers. As simple as that. Okay, that's why the mystery subject lines work fairly well. And why do you think mystery novels and films are so successful? Yeah, it's that allure, that mystery. Okay. So, keep the person engaged. They keep the person engaged. They're constantly wondering what's going to happen next. That's kind of, keeping them on the edge of their seat, if you will. So now this last one, number 5, is what I like to call the list subject lines, right? Or the top X list subject lines. A couple of examples of what that looks like, or what that might sound like, would be something like top 5 ways to get more leads, or the top 10 copywriting secrets that convert. The top 3 ways to get more sales. Okay, so those are what we call, people love lists. Those are what we call list style of subject lines. People love lists. They're simply clean and they're straight to the point. That's why I like to use them. So so use lists to your advantage. Okay, a disclaimer: are these the only subject lines that work? Absolutely not. I mean, I think you would all agree. And I mean, just think about your own inbox. Okay, look at the list that you're on. What subject lines made you click right away and open up their emails? Okay, but now, what can you do to take their subject lines and adapt them to your own emails? Now, don't plagiarize. Okay, you can model them. But again, obviously, there's always a way to take a subject line and tweak it a little bit and change it to make it your own and, you know, to tie it in with your content. So don't plagiarize, don't copy. Modeling is perfectly acceptable in this industry. So don't, you know, don't worry about, have no fear about modeling somebody. In fact, I talk about it a lot, right? The fastest way to get the success that you want is to model somebody that already has it. Okay, but that doesn't mean that you can copy or plagiarize in any way. That's, that's unacceptable. So remember this also, you know, online marketing is constantly evolving. You know, there are way more amazing subject lines out there. You know, so start testing and see what works for you. Okay, and when you're writing, always remember this. Okay, would you read it? Ask yourself that question. You know, would you read your own copy, or would you read your own subject line? Would it compel you to open? Are you bored? Are you bored when you read it? Would you subscribe? Okay, is the content and the subject line compelling enough to get you to open, read, and subscribe to the list, if that's what the CTA is, the call to action? Or would you purchase? That's the big one right there. Would you purchase based on the content that you were provided? So remember, if you bore someone, they're going to run away and they're never going to want to be in contact with you again. Okay? Make it fun, make it engaging, and of course and always make it valuable. Right? The more value that you can provide, you know, the more you're going to be rewarded down the road. Okay? Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you got value from this content. You know, that is always my objective, is to bring you value and to give you tips and strategies and, you know, little tweaks that will help you in your marketing each and every day. So hope you got value. If you did, leave a comment below. And I'm always looking for new ideas for future videos. So if you want to leave a content in that regard as well, by all means, feel free to do so. Love and respect you much, and we'll talk to you soon.